Okay, so hello everyone, welcome to my class Grandmaster Choice. Today's topic is going to be positional play. So we have some in-person audience online. I'll try to make sure that I'm answering your question online, but also people who are here. So please, this class is for you, so do not hesitate to ask any questions, clarifications, disagree with me, argue. I'm all for that. The play is on. And what we are going to do today is positional chess. So when I was younger, I always had troubles with positional chess. And I would be like thinking about plans, and my coach would always like tell me, you have to really think about plans, and planning is so important, and like what do you want to accomplish in that game? And I would be always like terrified of these questions because I would have no idea. Or like I'm just moving pieces, I don't know what I want to accomplish, and I would be like sometimes like really forced to think into planning. And then one day I read Magnus' book, maybe you heard about it. It's called I think Wonder Boy, The Road to Success or something, is written by his coach Simon Agdestein. And there is one chapter called, "Oh, I can win a chess game without having a plan." And then there's the whole discussion how Magnus figure out that to win a chess game you don't have to have a plan. And that calmed me down. And I figured I don't actually always have to have a plan. Sometimes it's about improving your pieces, putting them on the right spots. So the same in life, sometimes what we set out to be is not always what we become. Things change, plans change. The same in chess. So if you think you have one plan, you want to attack, I don't know, g7 or checkmate on h2, good luck with that. I'm going to play g3, we are never going to accomplish that. So we really want to be very flexible. So this lesson is going to be about short-term plans. Just what are we going to do this week, next week, and that's it. Not in 5 years, just very short plans. And I'm not sure what is your level exactly, so we're going to start with some easiest puzzles and then move it to maybe some difficult one. And there is also a puzzle that when I was solving it to prepare for the US Championships, I actually was totally off. I had no clue what I want to accomplish there. So we're going to see how to even target those difficult positions. So here we go. Puzzle number 1, white to move. My question is, what do you want to do here? What do you want to accomplish? So I want to give you a minute or two to look at the material balance, look at what are good pieces. Okay, I see some suggestions. So instead of telling me moves what you want to do, which some of the moves are actually pretty cool, tell me short-term plan. What do you want to accomplish with that move? Okay, I see really cool suggestions from Mark, Avinash, Steve. What about here? Yes. Okay, I see hand.
I was thinking bishop d5 to force a trade, and then we can secure a knight on e5. Yeah.
Okay, you thought the same. So what are you accomplishing with this?
Having a great square for the knight.
Very good. So this, people could think here about many moves, maybe doubling up. We thought about bishop d5, knight d5. But the key thing, what we want to understand is that this square is really important, right? And maybe if we jump there immediately with the knight, which is some of the suggestions we have even in the chat, this is good. But whenever they take, let's say the king moves, it's unclear what the bishop is going to really accomplish here. Compared to when we first go there with the bishop, we force to kind of exchange this defender of the light squares. And then whenever we takes, the knight is going to be absolutely fantastic here. This pawn is going to be problematic. And then we're going to just, move the knight around. We can double up. Then we can decide if we want to play sometimes f4, or if we want to just maybe move the knight here to attack also this. But we want to, we are getting some kind of nice position. Okay, so this was probably a little easy, but this is what I'm going at, right? We are not looking at plans how am I going to win this position, but what is good now. And again, if we go back here, this is another continuation that I think would be reasonable to think about. But anytime you realize that you can kind of get rid of the defender of the light squares, that's a good thing. All right, position number 2. And I'm going to flip this because it's actually for black. Black to move. What is your short-term plan? And actually before that, I think it's always like good thing to do is just like take in the position. What is happening? What do we like? What do we dislike? Sorry, Tomče, I cannot throw the mask away. That's a policy here at the club. Hello, Brian. If you guys can't hear me well, just let me know. I will. No? Good? Okay.
Well, White's bishop is kind of acting like a pawn here, so I'm fine keeping it there.
Okay, so we are kind of seeing this bishop is not that awesome. Yep. What else? Actually, tell me what are you noticing about this position without first going into any like what is your plan as black. What do you notice? We are noticing this bishop is not that great. What else do we notice? Our bishop is also not great. I see the chat is saying that maybe the knight transfer could be good. Yep, so this knight is maybe also not great, and maybe going here and there could be an option. What else? What else? It's closed position, yep. Mark is saying, I want to improve the black square bishop, but also d6 is weak, yep. What else? You can sometimes, try to take like the position of your opponent. Like, what do you think White wants to accomplish here?
I think White would love the outpost on d5.
Mm-hmm. Here, in-person audience is saying that the knight would love this outpost somehow to get there, probably something like this, but maybe there are other ways, although these squares are kind of taken, so that really leaves this only source. Okay, crazy local rooks are not connected for White. Yep, so White still has some issues with like figuring out how to finish development, but maybe in the future like doubling up on the d file and putting pressure here could be an option. All right, Avinash is saying that maybe stopping f4. So if you wanted to really stop it, then maybe you would be required to play something like g5. But it's a question whether White wants to do that. Let's say we play something like this, something ridiculous. Whenever White does f5, it allows this pawn to kind of disappear, but then it gives us a really nice outpost and maybe more dark squares for our bishop. So I'm not sure if White wants to do f4, but if we think White does want to do it, then definitely this is a good move to prevent f4. All right, I think we took a nice 1, 2, 3 minutes to figure out what is happening, and now it's our turn to kind of decide what is our short-term plan. And I'm going to move back the rook. Okay, I'm having some suggestions in the chat. What about here, in-person people? Actually, even people in chat, I want you now to come up with 2 moves that you would consider playing here for black. No plans, just 2 moves. Which moves you would consider here? Kind of commit to them in a way that, okay, I think I would play one of these 2. So how are people committing here in the club? I know commitment is hard, but what is what is your suggestion here? And by the way, chat, I see that some of you have like big preference for one move. I still want to force you to kind of come up with 2 moves, because it's really important not to have a tunnel vision. So even if you really have strong preference for one, write another one that you think is maybe second best. Yep, and here? I'm going to force you, push you, bully you into saying at least 1 or 2 moves. No, 2 moves, not 2 plans, just 2 moves. It's your turn. You have, 10 seconds now to pick up 2 moves that you would play. Knight g5. That was one of my move candidates, because I agree that transferring it to this square is very good. One more move. Bishop f8. All right, so knight g5, bishop f8. Here in the chat, we are seeing also a5 or rook b8. But it seems like a lot of you, even in the chat, agree with that. Really the correct, or the, not correct, I don't want to say that, but I think the really good move is bishop f8 here. This bishop is not very good. We want to transfer it here to much, much nicer diagonal. But also, one very important thing is happening when the bishop is on h6. I want you to tell me what is the bishop doing there that's like really powerful. Maybe some of you would say, oh, it's stopping, f4 from happening. But what else? Maybe someone wrote it in chat and I missed it, so please just repeat it. What is the bishop doing on h6 that's really important? Yep, Andrew, you get those, invisible points. When the bishop is on h6, you are really stopping the knight from going to e3 and taking control of the d5 square. So if the knight cannot transfer to d5, then you are kind of very happy that the outpost, is not being used. Let's say they move here, here, and then you are just ready to, snap the knight anytime it jumps there. And when you suddenly see this position, maybe black is not that much in trouble because the rooks cannot really double here. And if they do, so what? So you attack this, and I have it defended. I can double if I want to. Then I can even transfer the knight if I want to use the f4 square. Or maybe, then use the king to go here and push this. I may decide. And this is not even, to kind of argue if white is better here or black, but to really figure out what's the best idea here to do for black. Because if you are black and let's say you do something like here, and I suddenly move this. You move here, I go here. I don't know what you want to do. You double. You suddenly start seeing that this is maybe not a very comfortable position because the knight can go there, the rook double, the here, maybe even the f4 is going to happen, and you are going to be very shrinked, and it's not going to be comfortable. Why is knight e5 inferior to bishop f8? I think the key is that you are not stopping this transposition with the knight, and after this I can always have g3, so you're not gonna jump to f4 that easily. And if I'm in time to transfer the knight here, then I'm very happy. Okay, moving on. This position, white to move. Again, take your time to kind of take in the position. Sometimes we get into the habit of searching for the best move and what if you are queen down or rook up? Look at the material, there is no rush. Maybe we could make a rule now. Okay, James is suggesting a move that looks pretty awesome. But before you suggest move, if you can do instead of saying the move, saying the idea that you see. So here, instead of saying that move that I don't want to mention now here yet, because I think they don't see the chat here if people in person, saying why is that move good here? What it is accomplishing. And here, yep, I see. What do you think? Okay, so I want to play c4, and if they take, you're happy that the bishop is going to recapture, and together with the rook, it's going to put some pressure. What if after c4 they're not going to take? Okay, c4 is one move, but if they're not going to take,
can we exchange on d5 and
and I wonder whether we are happy or not that the file is open, you know, because they have two rooks, right? But you get also some squares for the pieces. I think c4 is an interesting move candidate. Yep, there's something better. Yep, and the chat seems to, yep, get kind of the idea very well. So what else? What else could we think about the pieces? How do you feel? Like, I understand you want to play c4 here because you want to activate the bishop. What is another, like, what else do you notice about white's position?
Well, white has a knight and a bishop for the rook.
Mm-hmm.
The semi-open file.
Mm-hmm. Like, how do you feel about these two pieces? Because, I know that you didn't feel very well about this bishop, so you wanted to improve it, right? Makes total sense. Great move candidate. What about the other pieces? Because that's really what positional play is about. It's about thinking, like being really mindful about your pieces and just putting them on better spots. And when we start to think about where our pieces could be better, it automatically, you know, forces us to consider certain moves.
I'd like to have the knight on f6, but I can't find a good way to get it there.
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome to have the knight there. But these two squares are taken. Oops. Anything else?
The arc for bishop kind of locked into.
Yeah. So there is one move that's really brilliant. Yep. What do you think?
I'm thinking about e6.
E6. Good job, everyone in the chat who thought about this move. This move is really amazing because we think about this bishop and this knight and this bishop not being great. E6 move accomplishes kind of both things, but most of all, it gives up, it kind of frees up this square for the knight. And it also allow, maybe when they take, suddenly this bishop has a target. And in the future, this bishop also has some stuff that, you know, can be very dangerous. But now the problem is that this is just now really problematic because this pawn is hanging. If you go and attack, defend the pawn, the rook goes down. Maybe this, which is going to go. Yeah. And this is just way more comfortable position. Again, you know, the degree to which it is winning or not, we can argue, and there is still game to be played. Although I think the chances are very, very good for white. But the idea is there's just nothing better that you can do here. Because if you just sometimes people are like, okay, I'm going to develop my bishop and I'm going to improve my pawn. And yeah, I mean, I understand that you are moving a little bit forward, but you're not really accomplishing anything, right? So it's very important. I always tell it to my students and people, it's really important about the moves that you are making in your game to always kind of have a short-term plan or short-term idea, real reason why are you doing that. So here, and e6 is just absolutely amazing. So good job. Let's move on to, are we ready for this? Wait, let me think. Maybe, okay, let's go to this one. This one is challenging, that's a warning, but I have high hopes for you here. So I want you to take time and think what you want to do here for white. What do you think is good? And why? So again, please don't suggest move, suggest ideas. Because with the move, unless we get your idea, we don't understand what that means. But the first thing is kind of take in the position, calculate the material, who is up, who is down, is it equal? Then what pieces are good, bad? And then let's go. Okay, so I see a lot of cool ideas from you being suggested, a lot of thinking here in the hall. And now I want to ask you just, what are you noticing in this position? What captures your attention? Even in chat, here in the room, just write, what do you notice?
I want to remove RT pawn.
Okay, this pawn is a little bit annoying, right? The bishop would be pretty cool. Yep. Another thing, I see bishop e4 with some queen, some ideas here. Yep. C3 ideas to change the bishops. But those are like specific moves. I want a little bit more from you, like, what do you notice? All right, d6 is weak. Yep. Those are the type of comments I want. d6 is weak, very problematic, right? Anytime you have a pawn that doesn't have a body around defending it, it's a weakness, and we need to like kind of process that. Yep. Our b2 pawn is also weak. We also have to be careful. So some maybe immediate actually tactics could be happening here. Yep. What else are we noticing? Yep, I see bishop and the rook. Yep, that's also something noticing.
The a6 bishop's a little shaky there. Preventing the knight from developing.
And that's what the chat is also saying. The knight is kind of stuck defending the bishop. Also, that is the same thing about like this rook having this open file, right? Okay, I mean, we could talk more, definitely. But now those are like, I think, the key points that they're important to like process before you even go into like thinking about what to play. And now what to do?
Your hair is kind of brushing up on the mic.
Sorry. Okay, is so fast. Queen, so what are suggesting? Queen g5, that's illegal. Queen g4 probably. That could be an idea. But then, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I may just take and take, right? Queen h5, I think the same thing. I just take and take. We had some suggestions from Nekara. He was the first one saying like some captures here. I mean, I think that looks like a cool idea to, keep this knight and attack that pawn. But now if we go seriously about it, go here, takes, here, defend. What's the continuation? Like, let's say, takes, here, bishop e4. Thinking about playing this and that, but maybe that's just not the greatest idea. But anytime you take on d6, I just can return with that exchange, right? So if I go like, let's say g6 to stop any jokes here. Like if you take, hello to Morocco. Yeah, that's just losing some stuff. I don't know how you, but I'm not convinced with this. I'm not saying it doesn't have potential. I like the idea, but I just don't see how to continue. And when I'm playing a game and I want this from you as well, like if you have a kind of intuition telling you like, okay, this is good, you really want to support it by your calculation. Because if you just like, okay, I feel this is good, you go for it, that's not how you improve as a chess player. You want to kind of guide your intuition. And then if just you cannot calculate that you have something there, you just have to like stop that plan and move on to something else. And then later in the analysis, you can be like, oh, maybe my intuition was good, but I missed this move. And that's how you improve as a player and you move to a different level. But you have to like, you cannot just blindly follow your intuition or your instincts. Like you do have to have calculation that supports that. So here looks cool, but not impressive enough. Now this is a really kind of hard puzzle. And
I suggest.
yeah, sure.
There might be a tactic with just knight takes d6 and then bishop. If queen takes, then bishop f4. And if the queen moves, then we can take the b8 knight, which is defending the rook.
Oh, okay, so knight takes d6, queen takes d6, bishop there, and you want to take the knight and then take here. Sneaky, let's say. Takes here. So if I go, I have to go queen b6. Right, let's show it. I think I'm surviving, am I? Because if you take, I'm going to just recapture with the rook. I'm very happy. And if you push the pawn, I can just retreat. I'm a little afraid, don't take me wrong, but I think I'm surviving. Right?
Yeah.
Again, great idea. And the thing about chess is like you want to have all those ideas that you have, like you want to calculate them, but then you only can play the moves that you are sure that are going to give you advantage, or if they are not going to give you advantage, they're just good. Like if you don't see the end goal that is good for you, you cannot go for that variation. Like I think really that's an important kind of maybe even lesson for today, that just blindly like snapping, sacrificing, it can help you sometimes, and you may win some games, but overall you're not gonna really improve too much.
Well, I would not have just played that.
No. I mean this was good. We were even like, that's why I sometimes even don't make the moves, and when we were looking at with the arrows there, that means we are just calculating in our mind. So yeah, no, that's totally correct. Okay, I'm telling you, this is the position that I was actually playing as a practice game with Ray Robson before US Champs. I think there's even a video on YouTube about it. And I totally messed up as white. I think I played queen g4, queen g3, queen f3, some of those moves, or maybe, yeah, and I just tried to like launch an attack, and obviously then I got just crushed. But before we looked at this solution in the chat, they suggested there was, who was it? I think JJ from SLU University, Grandmaster Samil, something, his name is complicated. Ali Marandi, yes. And he was like, you need to see Garry Kasparov Shirov game to understand the solution of this. So I want to do the same for you. Let's just look at this game and maybe we're going to get inspired. The same way I got inspired. Only after I saw that game though. So it was kind of late. So I'm not really interested in this, but look what is slowly happening. So we have like Sveshnikov. And I think knight b8 used to be played here, but because of this game, people stopped playing it because it was kind of like refuted. But it used to be played. a4, obviously attacking, these pawns. Rook takes. Knight d7, and okay, I have some notes here, but now, and the key here, why this is just not working, was because Garry Kasparov came with this really cool idea, which is rook b4, knight here, takes, and b4. And the thing is that this knight is like completely kind of trapped, cannot really do much, and I'm just going to show you a little bit more to see how black is just in trouble here. Here, bishop g5, we may think about transferring our knight. This is what happened. We see we're still keeping this pawn, stopping the knight from going anywhere. And now the knights are starting to jump. Okay, I don't know what are these arrows, sorry. Threatening a fork. Now when the rook moves, we want to go to c4 and really attack the f7 square. You see that like the light squares are just very problematic. This bishop is totally off, and these pieces are ready to be doing some damage for the black king. And now we took back, so now we are equal material, but this pawn is just really kind of advancing. Yep, I agree, this guy Garry Kasparov, he's kind of good. The idea is just to improve and checkmate. And you see, it's like, it's so sad. Like when you see this game, it's like this bishop is not doing anything. This rook is like nice, but if you don't have like other pieces around, it's just like totally useless. And like this is just so annoying, these three people here. This is what happened. Yeah, just exchange up. And you see, you just like, take that knight, I'm gonna checkmate you. Attacking, moving here and just ready to push. Knight e3, like, just like joking around, having fun, Garry in this position, and Alexey Shirov resigned here. But the key thing for us was to take away was this situation when we kind of this, and then this knight is so bad that all our light pieces are actually pretty good. So when we go back, anyone having kind of a suggestion of what to do here? I know, so many tactics. Yep, if anybody wants to go look at that game closely, totally do it. Because this guy, what was his name, Neikara, he was actually pretty close. It is an exchange sacrifice here, but you have to be very specific in your first few moves. No, you've seen the game, you still don't see the point? I mean, try to improve on your idea. Rook takes a6, but improve on that. Yep, and James just did it for you. So the solution is first, you take, which you got the idea, but now you play this really key move kind of, which is queen a1. And that's the key move that unless you kind of find this move, I'm not sure how good it is to sag the exchange. And I mean, you can check with the computer, maybe it is, but this is really key, because now what do you want to do as black? Like if you move the queen to defend, then I'm going to take this, and then this is going to be a disaster. Right? So you probably, I mean, you have only two defenses, and it always hangs the pawn. So probably you're going to go back, but then we're going to go with our bishop f4. And after a move like this, like black's pieces are just like pretty horrible, because you cannot develop your knight at all, because then it's losing this. And actually now maybe I'm going to take it anyway, because there's checkmate. So you're like in complete trouble what you do here. And you have to, I guess, give up this pawn. So what, are you impressed? I was super impressed with this, because I feel like I would never like come up with this solution. But I thought about capturing this, bishop f4, but I just was not impressed. That's why when I played this position out, I started, I think, with like, I think queen g4 I started. I decided I'm gonna like sacrifice, I decided I'm gonna sacrifice the pawn, but like he's gonna lose some tempos and I'm just gonna run and whatever, run. Didn't work, but that was my idea. But just like capturing and playing queen a1, putting your queen into like a corner, like, I don't know, that's just, I guess, like, you know, Garry Kasparov move. I think it's very hard, very hard to find. So, but once you kind of realize it makes sense. Like, either you force the knight back or you're gonna win a pawn. Like, you know, actually it's not that like challenging puzzle, but I feel that we are kind of primed of like, okay, let's go, let's, like, without kind of stopping a little bit and thinking, you know, if we attack the knight, we force the knight to go back. So think about the pieces being really, really misplaced. Okay, let's move on to this puzzle. Okay, I hope we have still time. Yeah, I usually run like overtime, so just tell me when it's like I need to stop.
You want me to tell you when it's time to stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like so people can have dinner and like have a life. So white to move here. But first, again, please take your time. Take your time to kind of, you know, get a scenery, like, you're watching something from a mountain, like, take it in, what's happening, what is beautiful, what is horrible. And then we're going to start about moves. Because if you start thinking about moves now, again, like, that's not a good way to be solving it. Because usually in a game, when you play any like position, you are well familiar with it because you arrived at that position. You had a lot of plans before you got there. This is just like out of the blue. It never happens in the chess game. So take your time to calculate, what is happening. Oh, I'm happy you guys like the puzzle. I was also very impressed. Very impressed with that puzzle. All right, so whenever you are ready, again, tell me what are you noticing here?
Well, black's pawn on e4 is looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm. This pawn is pretty good.
Yeah.
And what can happen with the pawn?
We're just advancing it.
Yeah, maybe like breaking in. Yep. What else? King is weak, I hear here. Which king is weak? Sorry, and then I'm going to go back to...
Well, I'm thinking the white king, if you displace the f2 pawn with an advance. Or wait, no, never mind, I'm quick reading.
Wait, sorry, what was the...
No, I'm just
No?
going. Ignore me.
Okay, I'm not going to ignore you. You're like super active here. I have to be very happy for that. I'm getting king is weak, but which one? White one or black one or both? Both kings are weak. Okay. But which one is weaker if you had to pick? Again, I bully you into making a choice. Okay, that's probably not a nice way. I should be nicer. If you had to, like, which king is weaker? White or black? Black. Someone is saying black, but that's one opinion. Okay. Texas Joe, the white king is holding it together. Yep. I also heard that this knight is doing a great job defending f2.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's f4.
What there is?
There's f5.
f5. So this knight is doing a great job defending the f2. The question is for how long the knight is going to do that great job. Yep. Black doesn't have a check. Yep. The king is relatively kind of safe. f5 is scary. Yep. Agree. But I also agree with your thing that this king is weak. Like, I feel like, there are a lot of like patterns you could checkmate it.
Yeah.
Even like, let's say this queen is somewhere like, I don't know, grabbing a pawn or something. Maybe I can like trade and some checkmates. I mean, obviously that's like wishful thinking, but I do feel that this black king is kind of weaker. Okay, so now I think we chatted about the position a bit, and now the question is, what do we want to play? Because we see some threats, we also see like maybe we can accomplish something. If we tried playing h4, sacking the knight and resigning, not sure if I want to go with that. Knight e3 ideas maybe sometimes, yep. So maybe somehow defending the pawn and then reshuffling the knight. Yep. Actually, now when we talked about, I want to ask you, who do you think is better in this position? Would you pick white here or would you pick black here? And yep, that's actually correct. Now chat is saying that this pawn is up for grabs. Yep. Question is whether we want to grab it, but it's definitely an option. Okay, white. Yeah, it's white to move. So most people like white. What about here? What do you guys like?
I don't know, I kind of like black.
Because it feels like you pinch the white position and it collapses, right?
Yeah. It's kind of delicate.
It could. I still feel that this king is dangerous and we have enough pieces to kind of attack it. But this knight is really not doing much yet.
Yeah.
So we would like to maybe reshuffle it somewhere. But it's a problem because the knight is defending the f2, right? We talked about that. So the question is whether we want to like take, or maybe play something like queen h5, or something else. I think king g1 was offered by chat.
Yeah, I think.
Queen d1 is also. It's like, okay, I'm so terrified. I just want to trade queens. Make a draw and go home.
Yeah.
Say hi to Anish. Queen h5 looks active for sure.
I do like king g1, bring up the knight.
Okay, we have more favor for king h1 here. So queen c5, let's just look at this move. Queen c5 is what happened in the game. This is game fun Foreest, this super strong genius from Netherlands, Jorden, against Stevic Hrvoje. And what happened was queen takes c5, and then there is this strong move kind of e3. That's what was played. And the problem is that after pawn takes f3, now we are kicking the knight. And then this king is actually becoming really weak. So if you go, like in this book, they're like suggesting like knight f6, kind of being like really strong. I guess you can make a draw if you want to, but now the question is if we can go for like a win. And that's unclear, but this is what the variation they are saying here. You know, now you have 3 pawns, 3 pawns for a knight. And they're like, okay, it's unclear. It's possible. But there is a better move. And that move is that you guys suggested. It's a king g1. It's like very prophylactic move. We just don't want to allow this to happen. So now it's actually not that clear what to do, because if you even do f5 here, now we have this really strong knight f6 move. It's like really hard to see. I mean, we want to checkmate, so it is a forcing move, but it's like crazy because if the pawn takes here, king e8, no, like rook g6, like I'm just waiting, you know, ready to checkmate you. And after this is like, now I want to play queen d6. And it's like such a crazy move because you want to checkmate here. What if this move? Who can find the solution to this move? Yep, queen b8, very good, because queen b8 here and checkmate, kind of crazy thing. So this is like, we are knight down, but we are actually winning because this king is crazily weak. We had a question why queen h5 is not good. That's a very good question. And I think the solution is after queen h5, I play e3. Let me see if we have it here. Yeah, I'm not sure what you want to play after. Either e3 or f5, but let's go with e3. I felt like it was here. But just to be accurate, if you, yeah, I think e3. This. Oh, that's a very sneaky. Wait, but I don't have to take, right? Do I have to take? I can just move. And now I want to play for win now. I mean, oops, I want to capture. Yeah. So I think e3 is just like very now problematic. Yeah, but I mean queen h5 makes total sense. It's just about like we all know that e3 is like a trouble, and sometimes we're like, oh yeah, I'm so scared e3 is really good, and then we don't do anything about it and we allow it, right? I remember a lot of games like this I had because just move like king g1 are just, I mean you have to be conscious about like, okay, if I don't like e3, like king g1 is actually stopping it, and I can still take here or play king h5 on the next move. It doesn't say I can never do that. It just say, okay, I have to be a little patient. And king g1 is the solution. And like the thing is, if you go like f5 here, yeah, we looked at the knight f6 move, which is really strong. And if you go something like, I mean, they're looking at like queen e2 and this. But obviously now the king is very safe, and the question happens like, okay, do I have some tricks here and checkmates or not? But it's not just like, okay, am I actually surviving after e3, or who's better there? Any questions about this position? Nope. Moving on.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, question?
I just, king g1, I just want to look at e3 anyway. Like,
But then I can take the queen,
oh, sorry, okay.
and then I can even,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm probably just gonna go this, not to give up the queen and hide or lose a rook.
Okay.
Yep, good question.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. This is one more puzzle that I really like. By the way, all these three puzzles are from this book, Universal Chess Training. I bought this book before US Championships to practice. I think it's a very good book. But it's a little advanced, some of them. So I don't know what's your level. There can be different ones, but it's a cool book in case any of you are interested. And just to make sure I'm citing my sources, as I've been taught in class in school. All right, so black to move here. And again, take in this position and think about what is happening here. So first, what is the material balance? What do you like? What do you dislike?
I don't like our bishops.
You like both of the bishops. Yeah, these bishops are not the beauty prizes here. I agree. What else? Weak g3 pawn. Yep. Huge target for our rook. Very good. Black has also weak square here, so Susan likes white's position. B5 is a passed pawn. Another thing, like, it's not that far away from promotion. It's no joke if you leave this pawn alone. Yep. So, whether you like this position for black or not, imagine you just made the moves. You just happen to have this position. So now we can, be despaired and hate our life and our position and our skills and all that. Or we can just put that aside, do that after the game, but right now focus on what we actually want to accomplish. So what can you do? Even if this position sucks, maybe not, but if it does, like, what can I do to at least play the best moves here? So you are thinking about like doubling up like this?
Perhaps, or even bishop takes h4.
Or sacrificing here?
Yeah.
Yep, totally something to consider. White queen may be overloaded, like defending this, and that's another things in the chat here.
Yeah, the queen moves and we lose a5.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting great suggestions from chat. So what about here, people? Like we can think about capturing here, sacrificing, but do we have really enough like material to do that, to attack?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right, so like, yes, we open the file more, I get it, but like we don't have a knight here or a knight there to like really, you know, make it happen, make the attack like really strong. So we're actually gonna waste a bishop. So the idea is great. Honestly, I considered it as well when I was solving it, but then I was like, yeah, for a bullet game, good luck, but in reality, it's not very good. So what else to do? And yep, the vibe I'm getting from chat is this is a position about the kind of the principle of the weakest piece and improving it. So what is, like this is really the piece we can brag about. All the other pieces are like, but there is one piece that can like gigantically, you know, improve, if that's a word.
Maybe the light square bishop.
Where to go?
You could redirect it, E8, or sorry, C8.
Yep. Yep. Good job on everybody in the chat suggesting this. This is like 2x clamp move. Like it's like weird, you are even returning back to its original square, but you are rerouting it to this square. And you know, taking control of this diagonal. And yep, if possible, then we trade the light square pieces. And how we kind of bragged about all those pawns, like maybe if we push d5 and trade something, maybe our pawns can be actually pretty strong if we trade here, right? Or if this pawn is going to be recapturing, then maybe our pawns can be strong. So it's not that clear how the pawn structure is going to, you know, turn around. Also, we do have this file, so if there are not enough pieces, or if we trade this bishop, even your idea, you know, bishop take h4 can be actually pretty strong because suddenly there are probably some pins, right? So suddenly, like with this like weird move or bishop c8 move, everything can kind of come up to play. And like now, if I ask you which side you prefer, like maybe I'm not sure because I'm becoming a little afraid that maybe white is too advanced. So I thought like other ideas, but what I was considering was maybe something like d5, because if they take, I take, but just nothing is as good as bishop c8. So let's look at bishop c8. So what would you play here? Now for all those hating their life for black, now what would you do if you were white? If you had the honor of being white here, what would you play? Texas Joe likes white. Okay, so Texas Joe, it's your turn. What do you play here? Queen f2. So we have queen f2, a lot of suggestions with queen f2. And when I'm going to play my move, bishop b7. Actually, good job. Queen f2 is the best move in the position. Just to, sorry. What was I saying? Yeah, queen f2 is the best because if you go something like, let's say king h2, anyone being inspired to do something here? Yep, bishop take h4. Bishop take h4. And now we're gonna hit this. So it doesn't work that easily. So queen f2 is a really strong move too. Also, when you are anticipating this and being kind of worried about it, the best move is just to move away immediately, right? Not give that momentum so black can like, it's like a slapping, you know, you're scared whenever the slap is gonna come. You want to like, okay, let's just not give that. You can play it, but then it's not that dangerous. So queen f2, bishop b7. So what are you guys playing here? King f2 is also an option. if you want to play king f2, but then I still go here, and if you play like queen h4, the book is kind of being like really, really crazy with now doing something like e4 to maybe freeing up, attacking you here. And if bishop takes, pawn takes, queen c7, targeting this, maybe planning this, some stuff happening. But so let's go to our queen f2, bishop b7, so you probably take, rook takes, king h2, and now important move for black. What do you think is a... Yep, d5. We are eliminating kind of the weakness that we had, and we also think about, you know, either taking here and getting like a passed pair of pawns, which we are very happy, or obviously if they take, then they're like ruining their own pawn structure. And here again, we could argue, you know, if white is better or black, or if it's equal, and I actually don't know. I don't even know what computer is saying that. But for me, the important part is that I was feeling miserable in this position, and I figured out how, if I find bishop c8, how to get a game out of this. You know, and that's what I'm always like trying to now think. Like when I play a game, I think about short-term plans. Like, okay, what is now happening? Which pieces are bad? Where can I improve them? And I think when we start to be a little bit more mindful about our pieces, we automatically improve at positional play, because people who always claim like, okay, I'm not good at positional stuff, I'm good at tactics, I'm not good at, you know, where the pieces should be. Usually my question is like, do you ever consider like where the pieces can actually be? Because if you never consider it, like you never come across those moves. But if you start to be a little bit more mindful about like, okay, like here, like this bishop is terrible, like let's just improve it. And again, it doesn't matter if this position is lost, semi-lost, or equal. This is probably the best try, right? So when we try to think about our pieces more, I think the short-term plans just kind of, you know, naturally going to appear. And that's my solution, you know, whenever you struggle with having plans, or if you have a coach who constantly, you know, asks you about having plans and you are like clueless what to do, then just remember that like you don't have to think about anything like super bright, long distance, just like small pieces, small improvements, one step at a time. So I had, okay, actually we have to finish? Yeah, okay, I had this last position. So I just can leave it here for a second. This is like really cool position. I really like, it's from this book, Play Like Grandmaster. I don't know who can see it. It's really cool. And was also a position. Maybe we can pick up on this one later, so you can just think, but that's what maybe we're going to do next week as well, just looking at positional play, maybe a little bit from different perspective, to really think about pieces. But yeah, I think that's all from me. Thank you so much. Very happy to teach, that I survived, and hope you guys learned something.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.